Okay, so I'm super excited because I think that Europe is prepared to be very competitive. And what I'm a little concerned about Europe is that maybe overregulating and overthinking might be not very good for this exact moment in life. Like, we need to be more active, we need to find opportunities, we need to make some changes in order to be more competitive.
Initiatives like the 28 regime, what do you think about it? Is it going to work? Is it going to make any difference?
Yes, absolutely. Like, we need something like that for sure. We need to be super agile in order to be able, like, we have an amazing market, more than 300 million people, so we need to share, we need to grow, we need to create. So yeah, definitely we need to have the same regulation.
And what do you think really slows Europe down, in the global competition with the US and China or even Latin America? Where do you see the weak points as of today?
I think we have lost this competitive hunger because we live very well. Europe is like the best place on earth to live in, but we have lost this competitiveness, and definitely we need to work on that because the world is moving so fast and we need to be there, and we're prepared to be there, and the young people here is like the best prepared people on earth. So we definitely need to start moving to roll the ball. I think that's amazing that you are raising up this question because we need to question ourselves and understand how to do something about.
Well, the concerns is that we have to catch up technologically behind it. We don't know how to build even a bicycle anymore. We have given to others to make it for cheaper. So we have a lot to catch up. And the second one that we think is still too small. The capital is still thinking too small. We have problems thinking about 1 billion, 2 billion companies. The most exciting part, I think the talent is still there. And I think it's still the values and the way we build companies is the right way. We build it for legacy, we build it to stay here, to create impact. So I think we are in the most transformational time of history, probably in the last 100 years. If we can build the right companies in these exciting times, I think we have the talent to do it, but we need to think much bigger and much faster and act together.
What excites me the most are new initiatives like EU Inc. I think a Europe-wide legal entity is very much needed, and I hope this will finally go through in the next 1, 2, or 3 years. And I think this will make things a lot easier for entrepreneurs who want to do business across border, who want to hire across border, and who want to have more clarity and a more easy way of doing business across Europe. And what scares me a bit is that Europe might lose track on innovation and talent when it comes to AI and quantum computing and things like that, because I think there's so much money and investment happening in the US and China, and the leading models and the leading innovations are happening rather there than in Europe at the moment. And my fear is that this will continue to be like that and that we will not be able to catch up in the future. My fear regarding EU Inc. is that it won't go live in the end, because sometimes with those ambitious projects, there are a lot of talking, a lot of thoughts, a lot of debates, a lot of opinions, and then in the end it always gets prolonged, and so my fear is that it won't happen. But I think at this stage it's so out there already, and prominent figures of the Commission have been mentioning it publicly so often that I think it will happen. I just hope that it happens in the next 1 or 2 years and that we don't have to wait like 5 or 10 years for it to actually come true.
I think it's AI, obviously. It's very, very exciting in terms of what we're able to do with AI these days, which like even 2 months ago we were not able to. The AI agents definitely seems like the future that's coming. I think what worries me is also AI. It worries me as where the whole AI world is heading as one of the challenges. I don't think anyone has a solid answer. There are some people who have good hopes, and there are some people who are more pessimistic. But in terms of Europe's competitiveness, I think that's also one area where Europe is not investing much. I think Europe is investing more than other countries in terms of trying to regulate the AI. and in a way that is a very important area to invest in. But at the same time, I think Europe doesn't do enough investment in terms of development of AI. I think all the big models that are being developed are either developed by the United States or China. I think there are some projects in Europe, but on the global scale, they're in a minority. And obviously, this being the major factor in the coming 1 year, not 5 or 10 years, that worries me where the Europe will stand.
Okay, so let's start off with the positive first. What excites me? Well, I obviously look at things through the lens of the media. We work with, I'm a former journalist, we're a PR company, so the way that I judge the health of our ecosystem is often looking at the media. We've seen a lot of big changes happen in the last couple of years. We've seen a lot of the world's biggest brands, like TechCrunch, leave Europe effectively, pull back their newsrooms. But then at the same time, we've seen a lot of new opportunities being created. We're seeing the launch of new publications. We're seeing a lot more focus on regional media, a lot more interest in local startup ecosystems. So we're also seeing a lot of former journalists from places like TechCrunch or Sifted or the Next Web going on to launch their own opportunities, whether that be Substacks, whether that be new publications with new focuses like Resilience Media. So, with challenge comes opportunity. I think we've had a shot across the bow, as we would say, in terms of recognizing that, things can change and there will be a lot of movement within the global media, but new opportunities are arising. Ultimately, we have a lot of very smart people in Europe. We have a lot of very interesting companies. We're advancing in a lot of different areas. So we need to keep on finding a way to keep on celebrating this, getting these voices out there, and ultimately kind of celebrating the innovation that is happening in Europe. On the flip side, in terms of challenges, I think we do need to recognize that in comparison to other larger markets like the US, regulations is more of an issue in Europe, and of course, there is something where we like to follow rules and we like to do things in the right way. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I do think we have to find a healthy balance between regulation and being safe, but then also staying competitive. So, things like AI sovereignty, etc., are becoming bigger conversations now. There is, people are realizing that there is like an over-reliance on some, like systems that could cause problems in the future. So we're starting to think around these problems, but we need to do it quickly. We need to demonstrate in the next 2 or 3 years that the potential that Europe has. This is not something that we can wait on. But ultimately, I think let's focus on the positive. We've got a lot of amazing ecosystems around Europe. It's also very interesting to see the strength of some ecosystems that don't necessarily get as much celebration, like Poland. One just has to look at the amount of VC funding and the amazing companies coming out of there to say, like, hey, we have lots to be proud about. But let's focus on making EU first a reality and actually, getting out of the talking stage and into the doing stage, I would say.
I'm not particularly bullish on Europe. That said, I do think that the new generations are much more pragmatic as entrepreneurs than the previous generations for external effects, job market and so on. But also they were born on their social generation. They were born with social media. So they're a no bullshit generation. They're much more aware of finance and they care about it. So I think overall that's going to compound positively for Europe. That said, I think Europe is not in a great place when it comes to regulation. It's extremely hard and tasking on any small business to start. So it really kills innovation at start. The regulations you need to be aware of before starting anything are insane. An example of that is the infamous AI regulation that Europe launched without having a strong foothold in the vertical of AI, and which is right now being revised precisely because it was released and it needs serious improvement because it wasn't battle tested. I guess makes us competitive, not so positive for the people. But we do have everything going for us in that regard. So we are very competitive. We have great infrastructure, probably the best. We have impressive financial rails. We have massive teaching institutions. We have the research capacity. We have the intelligence. We have all the raw matter that we need. We actually have money too. So it seems what's missing is really just stop demonizing success. Europe has went into a spiral in the past 2 decades of literally just demonizing success as if it was like something like a bad word to say. And we need to start being scared of saying the word money as if that's like evil. Money is a resource, it's a tool. It's positive to have it as a tool, as an asset. I don't think regulation is a catalyst for anything. There's this concept sort of like being flown around these days that being heavily regulated is good. Like regulation is good for business. It's not. So overall, I'm not bullish. Again, not because we can't do it, but because even if we want to do it, we are limited by what we are allowed to do. Actions, I don't think we have seen that many actions that indicate that there's a shift. And while we don't shift, the others continue to move.
There's a few things that we actually can think about in competitiveness and in the aspect of EU as a whole. We were just talking about the new EU incorporation, like to create a company by itself along all over Europe. That would be massive for like startups to incorporate a company everywhere, anywhere for $1, €1, and be able to function all across all the states. Because if you want to scale now, it's really hard to go from state to state incorporating new companies and all of that. So that's a massive competitive advantage if that does happen. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that would suffer from that related to helping out and counseling and all of that. Globalization brought a lot of good things back in the day. Brought a lot of bad things also. So as long as we can surf through the weeds and get into the right wave of helping everybody, I think the ecosystem can succeed and can be bigger and better everywhere, like across all of Europe.
Well, actually, what it concerns me is that we do not have any legal regulatory that is bringing from the investment perspective, that is bringing in a whole Europe. And I think that we need to change. That's from one overview and overall. But then talking about regarding women, we have very few women as LPs inside the venture capital. And we were thinking how we can switch this, and probably will be a solution if we build up like a kind of SPV that all of them, they could put like 5-10Ks and make like a whole, and from there represent an LP woman.
Well, I would say that there are two things that excite me a lot about the European competitiveness in the next decade, I would say. The first one is the human approach to solving the problems. Europe has been proving that it's putting people first instead of other things, and putting people first means putting climate very on top of the conversations in the competitiveness, managing the scope of the innovation inside the climate constraints. That excites me a lot because Europe is going to be world leader and creating the scope on that, managing the conversation on that level. What worries me the most is that Europe is very dependent of other parts of the world for several things. Energy, we're looking at that in the energy field, in the food field, in the car industry, for example. You can see how European competitiveness is going down, with Asian players, for example, coming first, with the food, with the massive food production in the global south. Also Europe is lagging behind, but it's setting the tone on the climate impact of those. So if Europe can impact these industries in other parts of the world, like in the global south of East Asia, I think they can create an impact, and it's going to be a key player for sure managing the conversation on that.
I see the ecosystem growing very fast, duplicating every 2 years or something like this. I've been going to the same conferences for 3 years now, and you get to see more and better quality. So something is growing here, and it's growing in the right direction, right? Now, what concerns me is that we still need more to catch up with the US. So we're going to need some support from the government that is not, as divided. Very hard to chase, like, European funds coming from different verticals into different countries for specific reasons instead of thinking about growing the overall ecosystem.
I think the answer is the same. So the European model, which is at some points, so in a bad way, at some points we're trying to duplicate the Silicon Valley and US model, which is not exactly what we should do, because we should have our own identity. So that's what concerns me most. So trying to be other ecosystem or to build other ecosystem rather than our ecosystem. What excites me more is exactly the European model, because that somehow we don't know yet, but we are using our models like GDPR, compliance in general, regulatory, and also the fragmented market, which is good because it's allowed us to create different products. If I'm coming from a country to expand to another country, I just need to create an office, or to build an office there, or doing something. Sometimes I need to create a new model or a new hardware or a new software and even a new culture of the company. So that's exactly the two things. Using the European model as our model, it's good in terms of building it, trying to not create, duplicate or copycat some other's model, like the so-called the template of innovation, which should be the US.
Europe has a great potential in the rural countryside, cities. So where I came from, Pécs is a small Hungarian town. It has a huge cultural heritage and a vivid life in a very livable cities. And if we give more chances to those cities outside the metropolitan region, we could emerge the innovation. So I believe that creating an inclusive ecosystem in those small towns can embed to the international network, and they can fostering the potential of the challenge in these type of cities. EU need more initiatives to support those ecosystem builders in smaller towns.
That really annoys me, okay, is that people think that they are building something amazing and they are more in love with the solution instead of, thinking on which problem are you solving. And they are thinking that technology is just the end. And for me, the technology is just the way to get something and to get a social impact. This is one thing that annoys me, and then my perspective of not only building startups, also teaching that people that they are just building things. And what really excites me is that something really amazing has to come in terms of social impact and in terms of technology and social impact. Something has to be any platform that can make a better world. This is the thing. This is at the end what we have to use the technology.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What excites me about Europe's global competitiveness is the greater connectivity and the remote work environment that European startups are now able to hire people and are more used to hiring people on a global scale. Working remotely means that people can be hired if they're in Argentina, where they're cheaper, in Asia if they're cheaper. So that's very interesting for European startups to be able to hire globally. What concerns me the most is that, again, working remotely is becoming more normal, and Europe doesn't have the draw that it used to have when talents can travel around the world and work in countries that give better tax environments, better visas, cheaper cost of living. Governments are noticing this, and economies are trying to bring in European talent to places like Japan, Thailand, Turkey, South Africa, people where people can work remotely in a better environment.